The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter. In 2024, do you know that moment when you realize your entire life has been a carefully constructed lie? Yeah. That was me, standing in my tiny studio apartment, holding a piece of paper that would unravel 22 years of, well, I thought it was love. Hey everyone, if this story resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments if you've ever felt like the family you chose was stronger than the one you were born into. Your support means everything. Let me back up. 3 days before this letter arrived, I'd graduated from Northwestern with a degree in marketing. Top of my class. Full scholarship. The works. And sitting in that auditorium, watching me walk across that stage, were the two people who actually deserved to be there: my older sister Maya and her husband Derek, not my parents. Not the people who raised me for 18 years before they decided I wasn't worth the investment anymore. See, here's the thing about conditional love: you don't recognize it when you're living in it. It just feels normal. Like walking around with a stone in your shoe. You adjust. You compensate. You tell yourself everyone limps a little. My parents, Linda and Robert Chen, were what you'd call aspirational middle class. Dad worked in insurance, Mom taught elementary school. Decent jobs, decent house in Naperville, decent everything. Except when it came to me, their youngest, how did Dad put it when I was 17? Their financial burden. Maya was different. 8 years older, graduated summa cum laude from DePaul, landed a job at Google straight out of college. She was the golden child, the one they'd parade around at family gatherings. Maya's doing so well in California. Maya just bought a house. Maya. Me? I was the afterthought. The accident baby who showed up when they thought they were done parenting. The conversation happened on a Sunday. I remember because Mom was making her famous pot roast, the one she only made when she had something important to discuss. Dad was reading the Tribune, occasionally grunting at articles about rising college costs. Honey, Mom said, not looking at me while she stirred the gravy. Your father and I need to talk to you about college. I was a junior then, 17, and naive enough to think this was going to be about where I wanted to apply, what I wanted to study. Maybe they'd saved money. Maybe there was a college fund I didn't know about. We've been thinking, Dad said, folding his paper with that crisp snap he always did when he wanted attention. You're almost 18. An adult. And adults need to learn responsibility. The stone in my shoe just got bigger. We won't be able to help with college expenses, Mom continued, still not meeting my eyes. Your father and I are approaching retirement age. We need to think about our future. Their future. Not our future. Their future. But Maya, I started. Maya was different, Dad cut me off. Maya had scholarships. Maya had drive. Maya didn't spend her weekends watching Netflix and hanging out with friends. The thing is, Maya had told me herself that they'd paid for her entire education. No scholarships. No student loans. Just Mom and Dad, writing checks and bragging about their investment in their daughter's future. But I didn't say that. I just nodded. Because that's what you do when you're 17 and you've spent your entire life learning that questioning your parents' decisions only leads to lectures about gratitude and respect. I understand, I said. And I did. I understood that I was on my own. That night, I called Maya. She was the only person in my family who ever really listened to me, who treated me like family. They told me they can't afford college, I said without preamble. Silence. Then, are you kidding me right now? Maya, no, Grace. No. They paid for my entire education. Room, board, books, everything. They bragged about it to anyone who would listen. I felt something crack in my chest. Not surprise, exactly. More like confirmation of something I'd always suspected but never wanted to admit. They said you had scholarships. I had one partial scholarship junior year. Everything else was them. Grace, I'm so sorry. I thought. I assumed they'd do the same for you. That's when Maya made me an offer that would change everything. She and Derek had been trying to have kids for 3 years with no luck. Their spare bedroom was just collecting dust. Their lives were stable, comfortable, and they had more love to give than they knew what to do with. Move to Chicago after graduation, she said. Live with us. I'll pay for your college. Consider it an investment in family. Family. The word hit different coming from her. So I did. Graduated high school, packed my life into 6 boxes, and moved to Lincoln Park with Maya and Derek. While my parents were telling their friends I was exploring my options and taking a gap year to mature, I was enrolling at Northwestern as a business major. Maya and Derek treated me like the daughter they'd always wanted. Sunday dinners where I was actually included in conversations. Help with homework without lectures about self-reliance. Birthday celebrations that were about me, not about what I could do for them. For 4 years, my parents checked in maybe once a month. Perfunctory calls asking about grades, about jobs, about whether I was learning to stand on my own 2 feet yet. I'd give them updates, they'd make approving noises, and we'd hang up. It felt like reporting to distant supervisors, not talking to family. They had no idea Maya was paying for everything. They thought I was drowning in student loans, learning valuable life lessons about financial responsibility. And honestly, I let them think that. It felt fair. Senior year arrived faster than I'd expected. Job interviews, thesis defense, graduation planning. Northwestern gives each student 4 tickets for the ceremony. 4 seats for the people who matter most: Maya, Derek, Maya's best friend Sarah, who'd become like an aunt to me, and Maya's daughter. They'd finally gotten pregnant junior year of my college. Little Emma was only 2, but Maya insisted she was coming. She's your niece, Maya said. She should see her aunt graduate. Her aunt. Not Maya's sister-in-law. Her aunt. I never even considered inviting my parents. Why would I? They hadn't invested in this achievement. They'd made it clear that my education was my responsibility, my burden, my journey to figure out alone. So I figured it alone until 3 days before graduation, when my phone rang. Grace. Mom's voice was artificially bright, the tone she used when she wanted something. How are you, sweetheart? Are you excited about graduation? Yeah, it's been a long 4 years. Longer than you know, I thought. Your father and I were wondering, we'd love to come to the ceremony. Support our daughter on her big day. Our daughter. After 4 years of barely checking in, suddenly I was their daughter again. I've already given out my tickets, I said. Given them out? To who? Maya, Derek, Sarah, and Emma. Silence. Then Dad's voice in the background, did she say Maya? Honey, Mom's tone shifted, got that edge it always had when she was about to deliver a lecture. Don't you think you should save at least 2 tickets for your parents? Maya's just your sister. We're the ones who raised you. Raised me. That's what they called 18 years of benign neglect and conditional affection. Mom, Maya, and Derek paid for my entire education. They've been my family for 4 years. They've earned those seats. The explosion was immediate and predictable. How dare I? After everything they'd sacrificed? How ungrateful could I be? They'd put a roof over my head, food on my table, clothes on my back, all true. They'd done the bare minimum required by law to keep CPS from knocking on their door. Gold star parenting right there. You're making a huge mistake, Dad said when he took the phone. Maya's not your real family. We are. And you're going to regret this. I hung up. Blocked their numbers. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Graduation day was perfect. Sunny, warm, the kind of Chicago spring day that makes you believe in fresh starts. Maya cried when I walked across the stage. Derek hooped so loud people turned around. Little Emma clapped her tiny hands and shouted Gracie, even though she probably had no idea what was happening. These were my people. This was my family. The celebration dinner afterward was at a little Italian place in Little Italy. We ordered too much wine, told embarrassing stories, planned my job search over tiramisu. It felt like victory. It felt like home, and then, Tuesday happened. The letter, Grace, we've had time to think about what happened at your graduation, and we owe you an apology. Your mother and I realize we may have been too harsh over the years. We were trying to teach you independence, but we can see now that we pushed too hard. We're proud of you. We've always been proud of you. We just didn't know how to show it without spoiling you the way we saw other parents spoiling their children. Maya told us she paid for your college. We had no idea. If we'd known you were struggling financially, we would have helped. We thought you were managing on your own, learning valuable lessons about self-reliance. We miss you. We want you back in our lives. Can we start over? We love you. Mom and Dottie read it 3 times. Then I called Maya. They sent me a letter, I said when she answered. What kind of letter? The kind where they pretend the last 4 years didn't happen and they've always been loving, supportive parents who just didn't know how to express it properly. Ah, Maya said. The gaslighting special. That's when she told me the rest of the story. The part I'd never known. After I moved to Chicago, our parents had started telling people a different version of events. In their version, I was the ungrateful daughter who'd run away to live with my sister because I was too lazy to work for my own education. Maya was the enabler who was spoiling me and turning me against my loving parents. They'd been playing the victim for 4 years. Poor Linda and Robert, whose youngest daughter had been brainwashed by her older sister into thinking they were bad parents. They'd made themselves the heroes of a story where they were teaching tough love, and Maya and I were the villains who didn't appreciate their wisdom. They called me last week, Maya said. Asked if I'd be willing to step back and let them rebuild their relationship with you. They said I was interfering with their family. What did you tell them? I told them you were an adult who could make her own choices about who she considered family. And that if they'd wanted to be your family, they should have acted like it when it mattered. The letter sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days while I thought about what to say back. Part of me, the part that still remembered being 7 years old and desperate for Dad's approval, or 13 and aching for Mom's attention, wanted to believe them. Wanted to think that maybe, somehow, this could work. But here's the thing about conditional love, it doesn't change. It just finds new conditions. They didn't miss me. They missed the idea of me. They missed being able to say they had 2 successful daughters. They'd seen Maya's Facebook posts about my graduation, probably got questions from relatives about why they weren't there, and suddenly realized their narrative was getting harder to maintain. My phone rang. Maya. How are you processing? She asked. I keep thinking about that Sunday dinner. When they told me I was on my own. What about it? Mom made pot roast. Her special recipe. Like she was celebrating getting rid of a burden. Silence. Then, Grace, you know you didn't deserve that, right? You were 17. You were their child. They had 18 years to show you that you mattered to them, and they chose not to. That's not your fault. I know, I said. And I did know. But knowing and feeling are different things. You've built a beautiful life, Maya continued. You have people who love you unconditionally. Who celebrate your successes and support you through challenges. Who consider you family not because they have to, but because they choose to. That's not something you give up for people who only want you back because it's convenient for their image. She was right. Emma had started calling me Auntie Gracie and running to the door when I came over for dinner. Derek had taught me how to change the oil in my car and how to grill the perfect burger. Maya had held my hair back when I had food poisoning sophomore year and driven me to the emergency room when I broke my wrist junior year. They'd earned the title of family. My parents had earned nothing. I wrote back that night. Not a long letter. Not an emotional one. Just facts. Linda and Robert, thank you for your letter. I appreciate that you've had time to reflect on our relationship. You're right that Maya paid for my education. You're also right that you didn't know because you never asked. In 4 years, you never once inquired about my living situation, my finances, or how I was managing college expenses. You were content to believe I was struggling because you thought it would teach me character. You say you would have helped if you'd known I was struggling financially. But I wasn't struggling. I was thriving, because I had people in my life who invested in my success without conditions or lectures. You say you miss me, but I don't think you do. I think you miss the idea of having a grateful, compliant daughter who fits the narrative you've created for yourselves. I don't need your apology, because I don't need your approval anymore. I have a family who chose me, who celebrate me, who support me without expecting me to earn their love through perfect behavior or financial independence. I hope you find peace with your choices, as I have found peace with mine. Grace. I never heard back. Maya told me later that they'd blocked her on social media and stopped coming to family gatherings where she might be present. They'd apparently decided that if they couldn't control the narrative, they'd remove themselves from it entirely. 6 months after graduation, I got a promotion at my marketing job. Derek took me out for celebratory drinks. Maya threw me a surprise party. Emma drew me a picture of us holding hands under a rainbow. That night, sitting in Maya's living room watching Emma play with her toys while Derek grilled dinner and Maya worked on her laptop, I realized something. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Not transactional. Not conditional. Just present. Supportive. Real. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Saw your promotion announcement on LinkedIn. Congratulations. We're proud of you. Momi deleted it without responding. Because here's what I'd learned: you can't build a relationship on borrowed pride. You can't love someone only when they're successful enough to reflect well on you. And you can't expect forgiveness from someone whose trust you never bothered to earn in the first place. Emma looked up from her toys. Auntie Gracie, will you read me a story? Of course, baby girl. As I settled next to her with her favorite book, I thought about stories. About the ones we tell ourselves, the ones others tell about us, and the ones we choose to live. My parents had written me as the ungrateful daughter in their story. For years, I'd believed that was who I was, but Maya had offered me a different story. One where I was the beloved younger sister, the chosen daughter, the family member worth investing in. And in living that story, I'd discovered who I really was. Sometimes the family that raises you isn't the family that saves you. Sometimes the people who share your DNA aren't the people who share your dreams. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to choose love that doesn't come with conditions, expectations, or fine print. Emma snuggled against my shoulder as I read about a little bunny saying goodnight to everything in his world. And I thought about all the things I was saying goodnight to: conditional love, manufactured guilt, the desperate need for approval from people who'd never learned how to give it freely. I was saying hello to something else. Something that felt like coming home after a very long, very cold journey. Something that felt like family. If this story resonates with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between the family you were born into and the family you found? How did you navigate that journey? And if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me to know these stories matter to you too. The last thing I'll say is this: if you're out there feeling like you're not enough for the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, please know that the problem isn't you. You deserve love that doesn't come with a price tag. You deserve celebration that doesn't depend on your achievements. You deserve family that chooses you not because they have to, but because they can't imagine their lives without you. And if you haven't found that yet, keep looking. It's out there. Sometimes in the most unexpected places, with the most unexpected people. Sometimes the family you need is waiting for you to come home to them. Sometimes all you have to do is choose.